The possibility of Israeli troops leaving southern Lebanon has raised major questions over whether Washington is now pressuring Benjamin Netanyahu's government into a strategic retreat after months of cross-border fighting and instability. A new US-backed proposal is reportedly taking shape, with diplomatic efforts focused on creating a phased withdrawal plan that could potentially reduce tensions and open a new chapter on the Israel-Lebanon front. The United States is reportedly seeking to establish a pilot zone along southern Lebanon where Israeli forces would withdraw, the Lebanese army would deploy, and Hezbollah fighters would be expected to move away from the area. The proposed arrangement may become the first major test of whether a fragile ceasefire can be preserved, with reports suggesting that Donald Trump's administration is pushing Netanyahu to accept limited concessions in order to prevent another escalation. Israel is preparing for the possibility of a US-backed phased withdrawal of its troops from southern Lebanon, signaling a potential shift in its military strategy after months of conflict along the border. US-mediated negotiations are expected to focus on a gradual Israeli troop pullback from southern Lebanon as diplomatic efforts intensify to prevent another escalation between Israel and Hezbollah. Israeli and Lebanese officials are set to meet in Washington for talks focused on border security arrangements and possible mechanisms to maintain stability in the disputed areas. According to reports, the proposed pilot plan would involve a limited IDF withdrawal from selected areas, followed by the deployment of the Lebanese armed forces to take control of those positions. Lebanese newspaper Al-Akhbar reported that a pilot zone could be established near the Litani River region, where a new security arrangement would be tested under international supervision. Reports suggest that Hezbollah fighters would be required to leave the designated pilot zone as part of the proposed agreement aimed at reducing direct confrontation with Israeli forces. The United States is expected to oversee the implementation and monitoring of the proposed southern Lebanon arrangement to ensure that all sides comply with the terms. According to Haaretz, the IDF is already preparing to withdraw from certain non-essential positions inside the Yellow Line as part of preparations for a possible phased pullback. If implemented, the partial withdrawal could mark the beginning of a new phase in efforts to de-escalate tensions and establish a more stable security situation along the Israel-Lebanon border. Amid these developments, Benjamin Netanyahu stated that Israel must develop a self-reliant weapons supply chain to guarantee its long-term national security and strategic independence. Speaking before reserve officers, Netanyahu emphasized the importance of expanding Israel's domestic defense manufacturing capabilities and reducing vulnerabilities in future conflicts. While expressing gratitude for decades of American military assistance, Netanyahu argued that Israel must continue moving toward greater defense independence and stronger indigenous arms production.
Now we stand before Iran and its proxies. We struck them, it is not over yet, but it depends on our strength where we will be in 30 years. It depends on our strength, and therefore what we are doing right now is building greater strength. I want practical independence. I greatly appreciate the support we received, and which I also brought over the years, from our American friends. Today I say we need our own independent armament array. We are producing our own munitions, to free ourselves from dependency, to build more and more power, to introduce more and more technology, to train more and more generations of commanders like you, because that is what will ultimately determine where we will be. And with God's help, with your help, we will be in a good place. Thank you very much.
U.S. Air Force tankers have returned to Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar for the first time since Operation Epic Fury in February, marking a visible shift in American air operations in the region. Satellite imagery from June 22 showed at least 12 U.S. aerial refueling aircraft parked at the Qatari base, indicating a rapid buildup of tanker capacity. The tanker presence has surged from almost zero last week to around a dozen aircraft today, underscoring how quickly U.S. air power can be repositioned in the Gulf. The return of these aerial refuelers signals a renewed U.S. air power posture in the Gulf, enabling longer-range and more sustained missions across the region. This move came as President Trump warned that the United States could reinstate a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz within 15 minutes, if required.
Vice President Vance said that there are mechanisms in place to make sure that there's not escalations with the Strait of Hormuz and with Israel and Lebanon. Can you talk about what those mechanisms are, and are you in direct talks with the Supreme Leader?
Yeah, look, here's the thing. As long as they respect us, I don't want to use the word fear, because that's an inappropriate word, but as long as they respect us, we're not going to have any trouble. We have total control of the Strait.
So the mechanism is
we have a Navy that had a blockade. I think the blockade was more impactful than dropping bombs, if you want to know the truth. It was like I said, they call it the steel wall. Nobody got through. Not one ship got through able to go to Iran. They got through if we wanted them to go through. And we could set that up again in about 15 minutes. I would say, Pete, one phone call. How long would it take? Maybe half hour?
They're ready to go right now if you need to. Yes,
It'll be before we finish the meeting. No, we have, as long as they respect us, we're going to be fine. If they don't respect us, things wouldn't be good, but they have a lot of respect. Don't forget, we had presidents that should have done this for 47 years. Nobody did it. Obama gave them a road to a nuclear weapon. I gave them a wall against a nuclear. They can never, under this agreement, they'll never even think about building a nuclear weapon.
It also coincides with the U.S. beginning to scale back parts of its military presence in Israel, suggesting a recalibration of regional force deployment rather than a simple drawdown. Israeli media reports suggest that the Israel Defense Forces have begun reducing their military presence in southern Lebanon after months of heightened tensions and cross-border conflict. According to reports, U.S. President Donald Trump personally requested that Israel carry out a partial withdrawal from southern Lebanon as part of broader efforts to prevent further regional escalation. Reports also claim that the Israeli army lifted several restrictions in frontline areas from 6 a.m., indicating a possible shift in the security situation along the Lebanon border. The Trump administration is reportedly pushing for a reduction in the depth of Israel's so-called yellow line, or buffer zone, established inside Lebanese territory. Israeli broadcasters have reported that Washington wants Israel to scale back its military footprint in southern Lebanon in an attempt to create conditions for de-escalation. The reported troop reduction suggests that Israel's deployment strategy in southern Lebanon may be entering a new phase under growing diplomatic pressure from the United States. The partial withdrawal comes as Washington intensifies its efforts to contain regional tensions and prevent the Israel-Lebanon conflict from undermining wider peace initiatives.
There is no such thing as a ceasefire that grants Israel freedom of action. A ceasefire means a complete halt to hostilities, by air, land, and sea. It means no demolitions, no consolidation of its presence in the occupied areas, and no further advances, in preparation for the withdrawal, which should take place according to a rapid, time-bound schedule. There can be no gains for Israel under such an arrangement. There is only one principle. Anyone seeking an agreement with Israel must base it on mutual security and the deployment of the Lebanese Army to the south of the Litani River. Anything short of that is unacceptable. Let the Israelis and everyone else understand this. Remaining on Lebanese territory is impossible. There will be no Israeli security zones on Lebanese soil. Any ceasefire under the title of a comprehensive halt to aggression is something we are already committed to, if it happens, but we will not accept any violation of it. Any violation will be confronted. Any violation will be fought. Any violation will be dealt with in whatever way we deem appropriate. I call on the Lebanese authorities to benefit from the Memorandum of Understanding process. Look at the honorable people in Iran. Go and fix out your situation with Iran, you political authority. Fix your relationship with Iran. Even the United States is fixing its situation with Iran. All Arab countries are adjusting their relations with Iran. What are you? What kind of people are you? You are still standing aside, behind the rest. Why? Sort it out. Catch up at the right time. Because this is a source of strength for you. No one will take anything away from your path.
Iran draws red line in Switzerland, making Lebanon the key test for any broader diplomatic breakthrough. Iran sets conditions as it warns talks cannot move forward while fighting continues across Lebanon. Iranian negotiator declares Lebanon the central issue overshadowing every other topic at the talks.
Naturally, if this does not materialize with respect to Lebanon, one of the key fronts on which the end of the war must be declared, then subsequent issues will certainly not be negotiated.
As diplomats push for breakthrough, the Lebanon dispute remains the biggest obstacle to progress. Israeli Defense Minister says troops will remain in place despite growing international pressure. Netanyahu also vows Israel will remain committed to its Lebanon deployment for the foreseeable future.
יצאנו למבצעים הללו We will remain in the security zone in southern Lebanon for as long as necessary to protect the residents of the north who are dear to us and the citizens of the entire country. As Prime Minister of Israel, I firmly insist on this, and nothing will change it.